The 18 Strong Podcast with Dr. Josh Satterlee from Clinic Gym Hybrid Solutions.
Well, to me, the best long-term maintenance care is the right training program. A smart, well-executed exercise program, I think, is the best insurance from insulating you against future injury or re-injury.
Welcome to the 18 Strong Podcast, where you get direct access to the world's greatest experts on training harder, practicing smarter, and playing better golf. Now, here's your host, Jeff Pellizzero.
Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to the 18 Strong Podcast, where this week we're talking to Dr. Josh Satterlee from Clinic Gym Hybrid Solutions. And actually, Josh was one of the very first podcasters in the golf and fitness world. Now, the Dr. Josh show, as far as I know, it has been long retired, but he was the first one to do kind of what we're doing here at 18 Strong, start interviewing, people in the golf and fitness world. Him and guys like Anthony Renna were really the pioneers of doing this. And I know Jason Glass mentioned that he was inspired by Josh's show, much like I was. And so it's cool to bring him on and kind of see how things have kind of evolved full circle and what Josh has done in his professional career. He went from being a chiropractor working in a clinic, medically treating patients, to creating what he now calls this clinic gym hybrid, where he had not only the medical side, but also had a training facility tied on in Las Vegas, where he was working with golfers, working with athletes, and working with general population, and eventually built up a business that he was able to sell. So this is most likely going to be an episode much more for the clinicians, the medical practitioners, the therapists, the trainers that are involved in the world of golf and training and fitness. But it's also going to be something for you as the golfer that I think you'll be interested in hearing, like what kind of facilities are available out there, what you should be looking for when you're getting involved with a fitness program or with a medical professional. And so I think, hearing what Dr. Josh has created and what he's helping other medical professionals, fitness professionals create is really inspiring. And so he has now moved on to more of a consulting role. And we talk about a lot of the things that he works with his new clients and what he encourages them to do in order to build the practice and the facility that they want, so they can create more time, more freedom for themselves, but also create a better environment, learning environment and training environment for the golfers and practitioners there. So I think you're really going to enjoy this episode. Before we dive into the episode with Dr. Josh, though, I want to remind all of you golfers that are out there that are still kind of struggling with, the fitness side, the performance side, and you want to make this year your best year. You want to kind of get off that roller coaster of getting in shape or, gaining weight or whatever it is that you're struggling with. How do you get off of that, what we like to call the golf fitness roller coaster? We created a 4-video series here at 18 Strong that you can go check out for free. And it's going to kind of walk you through the main principles that we feel are what really take you off of this up and down, highs and lows, and really get you on track and give you kind of a real plan that you can adhere to and that you can follow, from, what your workout should consist of to what are the big rocks or the big bullet points that you need to focus on in order to really stay on track. So to do that, go to 18strong.com/rollercoaster, and you'll find all of those videos there. It's a 4-part series. It's really going to walk you through, kind of our mental process when working with clients or, our own personal workouts and what we really try to stick to in order to get yourself moving better, get yourself feeling better, looking better. And as always, what you really want is playing better golf. So again, you can check that out at 18strong.com/rollercoaster. All right, let's get into this interview with Dr. Josh Satterlee from Clinic Gym Hybrid Solutions. Yeah, let's just kind of introduce you to the 18 Strong crowd. A lot of these folks already know you and have maybe even listened to the Dr. Josh show a long time ago, which was one of the very first podcasts that I ever heard, golf fitness-wise. I know Jason Glass was on there. Who else did you have on that show?
The very first dude I interviewed was Al Vermeil, which I was talking to Jason Glass, and I said that might be the only podcast that Al Vermeil has ever been on, right? And I was laughing because he got really heated at the end when I asked him about youth sports and what he thinks of the youth of today. And you've met Al, right?
Well, yeah. As a matter of fact, when I met you in Atlanta is the first time I met Al, because he was at that TPI level 2.
Nice. So he was doing this move where he was getting really frustrated. So he kept taking off his cap and like rubbing his head backwards, and then he'd put his hat back on. And I kept thinking, Al, pull the hat down a little bit. It doesn't, he wears it like a crown kind of sitting up on his head,
Yeah.
But he did that like 5 or 6 times. And I was like, ooh, this is good pod right here because he's frustrated and it'll sound passionate, And it's pretty amazing what he was talking stories about him and his brother Dick, who was, NFL coach for a while, and it was pretty incredible interview.
Yeah, Dick Vermeil and Al Vermeil. Well, Al Vermeil is, one of the top strength coaches ever, has the most rings, I think, of any multiple professional teams with the Bulls, the White Sox. Who else did he work with?
And I think the 49ers.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he's got one from
there.
all sports except hockey, I think. Like, geez, not a bad run.
That's incredible. Well, let's catch people up a little bit on your background.
Yeah.
So what got you, you're obviously a chiropractor. Give us a little story of what brought you to getting into the world of golf and fitness and chiropractic even, and then we'll we'll go from there.
Well, I grew up in a golfing family. My grandfather was a professional. So long story, this is back before the business really grew like it is today. But my grandfather was a professional, owned a driving range next to a golf course, and then invested in a fleet of golf carts, which the golf course didn't own golf carts. And my grandfather was like, everybody's going to want to use these things. They're going to be huge. So this is like way back in the day, got a hold of a fleet of 20 golf carts, and guys could play faster rounds using the carts, right? So he got really popular with the business crowd, became a very popular instructor in Los Angeles. And then he actually toured on mostly California events, but like he played in some Bob Hope Classics. I don't know if you remember that old tournament, and he got an 18-round sudden death playoff with Sam Snead at one point. Yeah. And he won. Funny thing, when you were on tour, there wasn't the big purses like there are today, but he won, I think it was at Pebble Beach or something, but he won some tournament. And my mom was telling me the story. He comes walking up the front driveway with what she thought was a television set, but it was one of the first microwaves that was enormous. It wouldn't even fit under the kitchen cabinets. It came with its own stand in the corner. It was this enormous microwave, and he won something like $1,800, which was, a Cadillac cost $2,600 or something at the time. So that was a lot of money. Wow. And then she just told me all these stories of the old timey, tournament prizes. So anyways, golf family, I grew up like caddying for my dad. I say caddying, it was really just getting a free hot dog at the turn, and sitting with him in the golf cart, and grew up on a golf course. The very first set of clubs. So I got very interested in instruction because the very first set of clubs my dad let me use were his Hogan Edges. I don't know if you've ever tried to hit Hogan Edges.
No.
They're a very small forged blade with a sweet spot that's like the size maybe of a pencil eraser. If you don't hit that sweet spot, you got no chance. So I was not a huge fan of golf because it was so difficult, because my dad was teaching me with incredibly tough equipment. Then his buddy hands me a ping, cavity back, and I'm like, oh wow, this is way easier.
That's how it makes you feel.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, you mean I don't have to try so hard? So anyway, so I got into that. Then I became a chiropractor because my dad got fairly sick, very sick when I was in college. And I noticed that the chiropractor was like the first person that he saw. So everybody was giving him pain meds. He had brain cancer, unfortunately, and you just get a ton of pain in different parts of your body. So everybody's giving him pain meds. And we went to a chiropractor, and I was really impressed by. He looked at him and said, "Okay, what can we do for you right now? Not these shoveling pain meds or doing another surgery, but right now, can we do some e-stim? Can we do some massage? Can we ice things down? Can we, do some mobilizations, manipulations, adjustments, whatever it takes?" And he would do like 5 or 6 different treatments on my dad, and my dad would feel good for a couple of days. And I was like, wow, that's cool, because you see the results right now, So I became a chiropractor because of that. And then when I became a chiropractor, I noticed that there's this group called TPI, and they were starting to do a lot of different work in the world of golf. And, I enjoyed working with golfers. I moved out to Las Vegas. There's a ton of golfers out here, and it just kind of was like a little, perfect storm event, and ended up working in the world of golf fitness because the community of golfers out here is super tiny and super intricate. So you can just get involved. If you're just consistent, you get involved pretty easily.
Yeah, I mean, when in that environment, there's so many people looking for, there's different parts of the area, and I think like here in Missouri, here in St. Louis, there's not that many like forward-thinking golfers, and I would imagine out there you get a little bit more. And I don't mean that in a disrespectful way, but there's not a lot of people that have been searching out golf and fitness and health and performance for the amount of years, back when you started your clinic. That was kind of not even a thing here. I remember hearing of TPI and thinking, oh man, this is brand new. But and that's kind of where I met you. So when you started the clinic, what did it look like at first? Did you start out with just more of a general chiropractic clinic and then branch into the golf fitness side, or how did that all come together?
Yeah, man, it's a great question. You're taking me back, Jeff. So when we first started, it was, this is 2006, and Vegas is, the economy is just booming here. And we rented out one of these office buildings where they're like offices, 3-room office for, I can't remember how much it was a month, $3,000 a month or something. And it already had the walls, already had the offices, already had the space. You didn't have to come in and do any kind of construction. So it was really just a couple private offices and a little area for reception on the second floor, tucked away, hard to find. It was, I didn't want to be in a strip mall. So it was all those things, and it's literally like a just add water kind of clinic. On Friday, there's nothing in there. And on Saturday, you move your stuff in. And on Sunday, you turn on the computers, and Monday you open up for business. It was that kind of deal. And so that was the very first one. I can't remember how many square feet that was, but it was like it was, I think, less than 1,000. Then we decided we need a rehab area. And the biggest office in that little setup was 10 by 12. So it just wasn't enough area for rehab. So we moved to the next building over, and we got a ground floor unit with 2 private offices and a big like 20 by 20 space where we could do rehab, right? Mm-hmm. And so I'm like, oh, this is great. Start working with more golfers, and we're doing some stuff. So I had a guy come in. I'm like, all right, well, bring your driver in, and let's work on some more fitness and whatnot. So I have him take a practice swing in this big, 20 by 20 is plenty of space to swing a driver, right? Well, the dude had this crazy high takeaway, right? And at the top of his swing, it's like when He-Man's holding his sword up towards the sky and he's like fully extended. Well, he came within like an inch of a fire sprinkler with his driver. Ooh. And I was like, oh crap, like that's not going to work. Cause if he would have nicked that thing, it was over.
That's
right?
Bad news.
So yeah. So I'm like, all right, I think we need to move. We need to expand. And we were also at the same time sending a lot of people to a lot of trainers to do fitness, right? We just didn't have the facilities, sending them to a lot of different trainers and gyms in the area. And I was getting super frustrated because I would send somebody off, they were out of pain. They were feeling good. They knew they could play with no limitations for a couple weeks. We had one guy go from 1 round a week to 3 rounds a week, stuff like that. And I'm like, all right, you just need to get strong. You need to finish your 18 holes strong. This was before I knew about 18 strong, like this is the old days.
I like how you threw that in there.
Yeah, well, I know who butters my bread here, man. So I'm like, go work out here. Well, then 6 or 8 weeks later, guy comes back with essentially the same complaints. And when I'm asking him like, so is it hurting on the golf course? He kind of says like, yeah, but after workouts, it's pretty tight as well. I realize he's not getting coached properly or in the right technique. And I'm just like, dang it. Like this sucks because you're PT, this, like you get people better and you want them to stay better. Like that's what you work so hard to do. And then when, some other reason they get screwed up, it's so frustrating. And so he said, hey, we're going to have to, let's expand and move fitness in-house or control that. And I found the best trainers in our area, started work with them, training them. And then at some point we moved and built up what was a 5,000 square foot facility, about 1,200 square feet of clinic space and 2,700 square feet of gym. And then the rest was bathrooms and waiting rooms and storage and all that. So it kind of went through 3 stages, started out really small and then ended up with what I think was like the perfect facility, a big gym, about 2/3 gym, 1/3 clinic, and lots of space to swing drivers, even if you have a crazy high takeaway.
Yeah, it sounds awesome. I mean, 5,000 square feet, that's a good amount of space to do pretty much whatever you need to be able to do. And so
it's awesome until the rent check comes in and then you're like, dang it, this is huge. I don't need all the space.
Yeah, we don't need to turn on the AC this week, guys. It's fine out there. Yeah,
right.
I know that. I know that gig as well. But yeah, so you create this facility. You've got the the training in-house, you've got the chiropractic in-house, and that way you've got it all under one roof where you can kind of oversee it. And now I know that you have now kind of moved on from that, and we're going to kind of dive into what you're doing now, really helping other clinicians create that same solution, actually. So kind of take us from, you opened this facility, Anthem Fitness, and how that kind of was received in that community. And then I want to jump into what you're doing now more on the consulting end, because I think we have a lot of clinicians, we have a lot of medical pros, we have a lot of fitness professionals that I think this interview is going to be really beneficial for them to, and for myself personally, to hear, how you took that, how you made it work, and what were kind of the systems and processes that you kind of put into play. And then also why the golfers and why the community loved it so much.
Yeah. Well, so at one point, so I keep saying we, because when we moved the clinic, I had a partner, chiropractor as well, went to school together, smart dude, business-wise. And then he had come from a background of construction, and construction was blowing up again. This is the economy had recovered here. So he decides he wants to go back into construction. So it leaves me down one chiropractor, right? We had enough clients for the two of us, and then we're down a chiropractor. And chiropractors are, they're professionals, and a lot of them want to be in their own business. So they're hard to find. They're hard to hire, right? Well, at the same time, I had some trainers working for me that were showing some, I don't know how to say it. They were showing some desire. They were showing some interest. They had a motor in them. And I'm like, well, what if we just, and I'm blending a lot of months of toil into this story here, but we're like, what if we just train them to do a lot of stuff? Like, what's the most that a trainer can do, And so we, they went to TPI. They went through the FMS. They went through the SFMA, not to diagnose, but to understand where it's going when you get somebody who is injured. They understood that, and they brought up their skill set as far as their training methodologies. And we would have these great, kind of working relationships of, who takes over what at what point. And the one thing I'll tell the clinicians out there is, dude, you have no idea how smart some of these trainers are. Like, they are super hungry for the information. They're very motivated. They have a desire to get people better as much as you do as a clinician. And the other thing is, it's easier to find them, and they're not expecting the income that a doctor is, or, when you see a chiropractor or a physical therapist, like, they're expecting a higher level income because they got a mountain of student debt, right?
Yeah.
The trainers are amazing. And I always say, you can get them to do about 80% of what you can do for about 50% of the cost. And so we started doing that. And just that was the key. If you want to have blended fitness and clinic, man, find good trainers first before you move in any space. And they will blow your mind with how good they are. And you got to train them. You have to train them, but when they get that skill set, they're as interested in as you are in that client being successful. So we found that little keystone. I saw what a great business it was. Made a ton of money on the gym side, and I wasn't having to fulfill that, as a business owner, especially in the service industry, when you back in your days of the hospital-based clinic, your hours are that's your income, right?
Yeah.
If you don't work hours, you don't make any money. So this was all hey, I can make some money, and the business can bring in some money without having to actually fulfill that using only my hours, which was a big difference from when we had chiropractors there. So I realized, man, this is something special. And then, I see more and more of this blended model, and I just thought, wow, more clinicians need to know about this, because this is, it's this is the secret, man. This is the secret sauce.
Yeah, and I think, to go back to your point about the trainers and their willingness to learn and how smart some of these folks are, I mean, I can't agree with you anymore, because coming out of my PT days, and this is going to maybe sound terrible reflecting on me, but, you kind of come out as a physical therapist or maybe a chiropractor, and you have a whatever degree you have, and you kind of feel like, oh, well, I know this, and I know the body, and I know this stuff, and maybe don't kind of think that some of these trainers do as much education as they do. And a lot of the education that I've experienced really came more after school was done, and in the clinic, different experiences that I've had, continuing education. And, I mean, there's so much to be said for somebody that wants to learn and how much time and effort they put in. So, I mean, I just see that hand over hand, that a lot of these trainers are just so hungry to go in and learn more. And really the model and the trainers I see are blending so much, just to what you're talking about with the clinics. You start to see kind of this hybrid of not so much just a strength coach or a fitness trainer, but somebody that's really working on the entire package of the holistic nutrition, health, performance piece. And I would imagine that your clients that came into these places, came into your gym, they also appreciated the fact that you had all of these different pieces together.
Oh yeah. When we'd get new people coming in immediately when so it was a big open area, and like to get into the clinic, you had to walk across the gym, right? Like you had to walk on the gym floor. So it just totally sets a different tone when they're looking out and seeing other people like them that, maybe are older than them, or they perceive to be less athletic, or, it's like Al Bundy, I set 3 high school records, but when they see them, it sets a very different tone from when you walk in a clinic and start doing that initial history or exam versus being in like the typical, sterile white, crappy linoleum floors with lots of rooms. And it's like, Mr. Pellizzaro, come here.
Yep.
And that just doesn't set the right tone, especially if you got people in there interested in getting out on the golf course, they don't want to be, they're not looking to just manage pain or whatever. They're looking to actually make significant improvement, which pain is part of that. But what's next? They want to know, right? And if you can be known as, hey, I don't just get rid of your back pain, but, once you work with me for 4 weeks, you'll also drive the ball 20 yards further. That's a better driver than getting rid of back pain. There are a lot more guys that are interested in that than anything else.
Yeah, I mean, I would imagine you saw a lot of patients that, maybe came in thinking, oh, I hurt my back, or I hurt something and I need to go get fixed. But then they see all this other stuff going on there. Did you see it sparking some more interest in people getting more involved in the more healthy way of living and getting stronger and more fit, and kind of almost open their eyes that there's a whole different piece to this?
Oh, for sure. For sure. I mean, we had guys that were like, I didn't know this was available. I didn't know this was, this even existed. We heard that from a guy that was actually an instructor up at the Butch Harmon School. One of the more famous freaking schools in the nation. And this guy's saying, wow, I didn't even know this was here. And we were like 1.5 miles from them. And he was like, this is great. I want to send all my people down here. And he's, when he was kind enough that when people would come in for, say, 3 days of lessons, the first day he'd bring them by our place for an evaluation and just some tips on, you couldn't do much in just that first day, but what can you prevent from really becoming an issue over those 3 days of they're paying a lot of money for lessons and whatnot. So he was excited about that. And so many people were like, this is great. I'm going to bring my wife, bring my friends. The only downside was sometimes they're like, I literally had a guy who said, listen, I'll pay you $200 to not work with my buddy, because this is the first time in my life I've been gaining on him. And I really want to beat him for a couple rounds. So like, in a few months you can work with him, but just right now, don't touch him. And I'm like, all right, well, I guess that's a great compliment.
Yeah, when you got guys telling you not to share the secret, that says that you're doing something right, knowing the competitive edge of the golfers. And I know there's a lot of golfers listening to the show right now, but like I said, we're going to kind of steer this a little bit more towards some of the clinicians, because what you're doing now, you've sold the gym, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And
right.
And now you're doing more of the consulting side. So first, before we dive into Clinic Gym Hybrid Solutions, which is the name of your new company, and Clinic Gym Radio, which you were nice enough to have me on not too long ago.
Well, I got to get headliners to go on my show, because nobody knows about me. But I mean, you drop the name Jeff Pellizzaro, and like, not only do you get a bunch of ladies hitting up the site, but you get a little bit more, a couple extra listeners.
Well, I did notice that I'm right behind Greg Rose, so that I'd like to play.
And who's that guy, really?
Yeah,
Right. I mean, I don't even know who he is.
You totally threw me off my thought process here. Oh, going back to Anthem Fitness. So let's just kind of wrap up how this changed you professionally, as far as what you did on a day-to-day basis, and kind of what were the benefits that really made you think, holy cow, I need to share this with more people. And then I want to dig into some of the steps and processes that maybe some people listening to the show can take if this is something that they're thinking about, looking into or implementing into their either fitness practice or chiropractic or who this is really for.
Yeah, I think it's great. I mean, even to the golfers listening, like, there are these hybrid facilities around where they're blending both. And I think it's just search those places out because they understand injuries. Back to use a totally non-golf, non-exercise example, you remember back when the economy crashed, and then we certainly felt it here in Vegas. As it was coming back, I remember they're like, oh yeah, we have to stress test these banks, we have to do these stress tests. And I think it's like what you're saying about the clinicians. Sometimes we know things inherently, but we're not able to really see our work under stress. And with that blended model of fitness and clinic, you can say, all right, I think this guy's out of back pain. We got him. We increased his hip internal rotation, all the things that decrease back pain from golf. That's great, but now put some weight in it or add some speed to it. Have them throw a medicine ball, test it, and perform that stress test, and have the strength coach perform that, because so many times you think something's gone and it's right under the surface that you can find when you're just doing basic low-level movements in a clinical setting. So get them out on the floor and test. And if you're somebody that's dealing with that stuff, find a gym that blends both, and you'll notice that your treatments are better and they last longer because everybody there understands both sides of the coin. Going back to your point about, what you can learn from trainers, I think TPI did such an amazing job of putting trainers or strength coaches in the room with the clinicians and with the golf instructors. And that early conversation totally shapes where that person needs to go. And then recognizing that everybody has a big skill set. Everybody has a huge skill set. You just have to tap into it. Mm-hmm. We underestimate everybody else's skill set often. So, probably my last 2 years, right leading up to the selling of the gym, the biggest takeaways I had were actually from fitness classes. I think the fitness lessons I learned affected my patient care more than any clinical courses I took at that point, strangely enough. And I just really, because it's like that continuation model that I think is sometimes lacking in medicine. We think it's just, do they have pain? Yes or no. And if no, they're done. And that's just not how people are,
Right.
So
what was it about the fitness classes that kind of did you learn so much from?
Yeah. So I took this, what is it called? Certified Functional Strength Coach, offered through Mike Boyle Strength and Conditioning. And, they really explore all the different stances of lower body training. So split stance, bilateral stance, and stepping up, and then how that affects different athletes. And when you look at how is this person going to be in their sport under load, it helped me regress my rehab moves better. And it gave me a whole bunch of other options. I don't know if you have if you get that, let's say 40-year-old athletic golfer who's very athletic, doesn't want to do low-level rehab. They don't want to be doing rolling patterns and lying stuff or quadruped stuff. It gives you some options to work on strength training that also blends that line of rehab and gives them some really great additional benefits, maybe, core work or stability, but it gives it to them at a level where they're interested in doing it.
Yeah.
If it's too easy, sometimes they're just they may need it, but they don't want it. And so they're not going to do it, And so sometimes you got to upgrade rehab just to get get their ego involved would be a good way to say that,
Yep.
So it offered a whole cornucopia of great exercises in that realm.
Gotcha. Yeah. When you first said fitness classes, I was thinking group classes, and I was like, wait, what do you mean by that? Group classes at your fitness facility. But
no,
continuing education class.
I have started doing this yoga class with this tiny little, Sunbeam Moonshine or whatever her name is teaching it. She's amazing, but she's I'm learning a lot in that as far as man, I got to tell some golfers about this move. I got to tell them about this move. I mean, just some really interesting flows as well. And I think that that's something that I'd love to incorporate in my rehab and training kind of bevy, what I offer clients.
Sure. Hey, let me jump in here real quick to say thanks to our sponsor for this week's episode, Super Speed Golf. And once again, we've got Mike Napoleon on the line with us to help bust some of the myths that we've been hearing in golf instruction for a long time. And Mike, one of the things that I hear so many golfers talk about is the fact that they need to keep their head still in their golf swing. Is that true? Is that really a fundamental piece that we need to know before we go and swing a club?
I don't think so. I think it's actually something that causes people to get in their own way. In a lot of ways, they end up starting to, try to really stiffen up and tense up, and they get really still. And then a lot of other parts of their body don't rotate as well. What's interesting about your head in the golf swing is that if you make a golf swing, you actually rotate your neck like 90 degrees one way, then 90 degrees the other way as you get down through your follow through. So there's a lot of motion happening in your neck and in that area of your body. And again, like if you let yourself just be athletic and not worry about these little pieces that move or these little pieces that shouldn't move, learn to be athletic, learn to be efficient. That's going to really help your speed and power in your golf swing. It's also going to be a big boost for your consistency.
Awesome. So if you want to create more athleticism, more speed, more efficiency in your golf swing, be sure to go check out superspeedgolf.com. They can answer a ton of your questions. They've got a ton of content on their site and on their YouTube channel. And once you're ready to get your set of Super Speed golf clubs, be sure to use the code 18STRONG. You mentioned just something about before selling the gym, and that just kind of clicked in my head. Like most of the time when somebody has a facility, say a chiropractic facility, physical therapy clinic, and they're the sole practitioner, it's hard for you to go about and sell that. But what you've created here is a business, a monster business that you're able to then sell, to somebody where they can continue on the brand and continue on where you're not just, again, there for the time for dollars, the service that you provide, but you've got a whole system that's incorporated. So how would somebody, let's say there's a chiropractor, and if you think, I think this would probably be applicable to physical therapists, obviously, kind of depends on the state that you're in and what your legal ramifications are as far as what you can and can't do direct access wise. But what would you say to the medical professional, the clinician that's sitting there maybe with a sole practice thinking, yeah, this is the direction I want to go? What's the first step that they should go about, or what's the first direction they should start looking?
Yeah, well, the first thing they should do is, if they're in the insurance model, look at the decline of insurance repayments they're getting over the last 5 years, and then maybe have a couple drinks and wipe the tears from your eyes, and then you'll be well motivated to do what I'm about to say. That's the first step. And as far as this is, I think PTs, chiros, anybody that's interested in this, do it. Like, I don't think there's a line between PTs and chiros anymore, except for just what's on our diploma. Like, I'd be comfortable sending anybody I have to you, and I hope that you would send anybody you have to a great chiropractor. As long as we know the person's good, I could care less how their diploma looks.
Yeah. I think, just to interject, I think that it's so funny that people think that we're immediately mortal enemies if there's a physical therapist and a chiropractor in the room. I mean, I often refer directly to chiropractors here in town simply because in Missouri we don't have direct access, and it's a little easier to get that person in quickly.
Well, that's only because we know that you hate puppies.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, all physical therapists are mean and they hate puppies, but that's why I won't give you direct access, because you're just going to, no.
Damn obvious.
It's the most ridiculous thing. We should all share skill sets, whether it's dry needling or manipulation or whatever you want to call it. So that's my stance. And if anybody has a problem with that, feel free to email me. But you're going to lose that argument. Anyways, what should they do? So get motivated, because, let's talk from a business standpoint. One of the downsides of being a great clinician is the better you are, the less you get paid. And what I mean by that is, if I'm bad and it takes me 20 visits to get rid of your hip pain, if I'm good, it takes me 6 visits to get rid of it. Which one does the consumer want?
Yeah, they want the 6 visits.
Right, yeah. The problem is, if I'm collecting the same amount of money, so if I'm in the insurance model, I'm collecting the same amount of money, would you rather have 20 times, let's say it's $50, or would you rather have 6 times $50?
Pretty easy.
Well, yeah, it's simple, except that's the person who's really good is getting paid less now, right? So the options are, let's either get out of the insurance model, which has its own difficulties, or add some service where I can make back some money in a way that serves the patient's needs, right? Well, to me, the best long-term maintenance care is the right training program. A smart, well-executed exercise program, I think, is the best insurance from insulating you against future injury or re-injury. Would you agree with that? I mean, I don't know what you think for your guys, but and I think everybody that's in that world of like working with athletes and golfers and anybody that's active, they all believe that, right?
Sure.
And it's from a business perspective, it's perfect because if I get you better in 4 visits, 6 visits, and you're like, wow, this person's great. I'm amazed. I'm blown away. I like them. I like the people around them. I like dealing with their office. And I say, hey, I have this other service where we're going to make sure that we train you in a way that honors your current injuries or anything that you deal with. We're going to adjust our workouts to prevent you from getting injured again. And oh, by the way, it's in this location where you got really smart people who are working together. We're training every week on getting better and sharpening our swords. And we're nice people and we actually care about you. Like, who says no to that?
Yeah, I mean, it's that whole community thing too that you have going. Not only do you have the professional, the medical professional that worked with you, but in a gym setting, it's very easy to come in. You're talking with people; they're in a good mood. They want to be there. It's not like that sterile setting that you mentioned before. And usually, you have that community, that vibe of everyone kind of pushing each other, working together, and it definitely would have a much different feel than your typical insurance model clinic.
Yeah, absolutely. And, it's great when I can go, oh, Jeff, I know you injured your back. Let me introduce you to this person. Now, 4 weeks ago, he injured his back as well, but now he's deadlifting and there's no pain. And they're just a walking testimonial for you, or they're hitting the golf ball or whatever. Like, you don't need to sell that person on doing their home exercises. They're bought in now. So it's great for that. So that's the first step. Going back is like that. And you develop recurring revenue, which means you're going to make money every month off offering a great service. And it's not going to be, you're not going to be actively trying to get the person to not become a customer like you are in the clinic. Right.
Yeah. And
so
you mentioned recurring revenue. So is this, and maybe I'm just digging into too many details right out of the gate, but
that's the beauty of having a podcast, man. You get free consulting, right? Like,
that's right.
I've gotten people on my show. I'm like, oh man, this is awesome. I'm getting this for free. Wow. I think I owe this person.
Yeah, you get to talk to Stu McGill for, an hour and a half. That's pretty good. He charges a lot of money to speak.
Yeah.
So is this like a monthly membership kind of a thing that people are joining, or is it kind of a pay for a session model or pay per week, or how does that work?
I think the best way to do it, there are many ways. I think the best way to do it is offer small group training, which is like one coach to 4 to 6 people, 4 to 6 athletes, and very high service. So, but that small ratio allows you to really change the program to fit the person in front of you. So you can have all the way from your 18-year-old, collegiate golfer all the way up to that golfer's grandmother, and everybody's doing the same program, but doing different modifications at different steps. Mm-hmm. So in that, you offer small group training. That's the best case scenario, small group training, very high service, and it's a little bit more expensive than, typically like a CrossFit class or something like that, but you're offering a much higher level product as well. Gotcha. So, and I think go for membership because the longer they're with you, the better they're going to feel, and hopefully the longer their injury stays away, and everybody wins in that model.
Gotcha. What are some of the obstacles that somebody might have to jump through, if they're going from a solo practitioner kind of a setting to, bringing in an extra service like the training service?
Yeah, I think the number one thing I hear with our clients is that they expect that they're going to do the work. They're going to be the one training the people. Oh, when I end clinic at, 6 o'clock, I'll teach for 2 hours. And then, and then when we're busy enough, we'll find somebody. And I think it's just a recipe for disaster. Because, number one, if that person doesn't start with you, when are you going to work with them? When are you going to train them? And then when you get people in at the end of a day, like, I don't care who you are, like, you're tired, like you don't have energy, right? Why not hire somebody that's coming in fresh and feeling good and have them work with your clients? So I would say if you're a clinician, don't do the frickin' service. Train somebody to serve your clients at that high level. And then your job is handle the clinical aspect. I forgot to say this earlier, but one of the greatest things is trainers are so skilled these days. Like, they're amazing. And if you're working with them and training them, what it allows you to do as a clinician too is really spend your time on the difficult cases that should be with a clinician. So in your world, Jeff, like the 3 out of 10 low grade mechanical back pain, like a trainer can handle that every day of the week, right? If there's no red flags, there's no like hard neuro signs or anything, like what's the downside? What does that person need? Well, they probably need some like self-driven mobilization and strength, right? Well, that's all stuff that trainers are excellent at. So why waste your time with that when you can be dedicating it on somebody with like multiple instabilities or comorbidities or previous surgeries, especially if it's somebody that's really driven to get back to golf, but feels like they're being limited by their medical history. Well, now you got some extra time to work with that person. You're not up against the clock, right? I mean, unfortunately, the clock is the big enemy in a medical practice.
Yeah, I mean, that's what we're all fighting for, is trying to find enough time to see the amount of people that we want to see, to make the living that we want to make, to live the life that we want to do. But then if you're spending all your hours in the gym or the clinic or whatever, you can't do that. There's not enough time in the day. And I also think that training people underneath you, it's like whenever there's a student coming through, or you're also you sharpen your skills by helping to educate that person as well. I find that if I have a student here observing or something, I'm that much more diligent about educating them on the nuances of what's going on. And I would imagine that only helps you kind of hone in your system, so that the next time it's that much easier to train somebody. But also just working with another client or another patient, it allows you to be that much sharper.
Oh yeah, for sure. And the other thing I think is big. I mean, I talked to do you know Brett Winchester? He's out in your area.
Absolutely.
Yeah, smart guy. And he was saying that the biggest lesson he ever learned was, don't enter that room with any biases, right? Like, do your best to not have any biases as to what's going on with this person, no matter what they say or do. And if you can do an exam that's totally objective, you're going to be more successful, right? Well, I guess he's a better human than I, because I've got a lot of biases. Like when I enter that room, like, oh, what did they say? Or, how did they say that? And my brain's already spinning up about what's causing their back pain. But to your point, when the trainer has their own biases as well. And so many times I was like blown away by the approach the trainer took, or strength coach, that they were like, well, I think it's this. And I'm going, I never considered that. And let me think, why didn't I consider that? Well, like everybody's coming from their own place. And a lot of times they had a better solution than I did, for whatever. Like I'm looking at it, because I'm walking around with my chiropractic hammer, then everything must be a nail. And they're thinking, well, no, I tell them to do this, this, and this. And I'm like, that's actually a really good idea. And it changed, having that different opinion sharpens everybody's sword, like you said.
Was it a difficult transition from you going to, practitioner working with clientele, with patients, to then having to become this business owner that now is training? What was that like for you? Because I know that's something that I don't think I'm great at, is educating people on systems and processes, or coming up with those systems and processes. When you're a solo practitioner, you kind of find your own way, and you kind of figure out what works for you, and you take different pieces of different systems maybe. What was that transition like for you?
Oh, Jeff. Let me tell you a little story. This has happened to me twice in my life, and it's exactly what happened when I made that transition. And it happened one other time when I was in college. So let me tell you the college story first. I actually went to college on a cheerleading scholarship.
Really?
Very few people know that, but I went on a cheerleading scholarship to Montana State University, home of the Fighting Bobcats. And not that piece of crap school over in Missoula where the Grizzlies are, but anyways. And we went to a partner cheer competition. Now this is like guys and, one guy, one girl, you compete, right? And you have a routine. And at the end of my routine, my partner and I had worked our butts off to do this routine. Now this is before the internet, so there was no YouTube videos of this. Like it was all like, oh man, I found these DVDs and so-and-so is going to ship them to me. And, like this is old school learning, right? So we go to this competition, we do our whole routine. And at the end, we do this move called a toss to Cupid, right? Which is just, I throw my partner above my head. Both feet land in one hand, right?
Okay.
And we've been working on it. And so we do that. So we get done, and all of a sudden the announcer says the name of the next group. And I'm like, I can't remember the dude's name, but it'd be like hearing, and now up, Jeff Pellizzaro and his partner, Susie Smith. And I'm like, Pellizzaro, why do I know that name? Well, to train for this, that's how I actually found Olympic weightlifting. It's perfect if you want to learn how to throw weight over your head, right? Mm-hmm. So I'd been training and I got really into weightlifting and powerlifting. And I was like, why do I know that name? And as soon as the dude walked out, I realized, oh yeah, I know him. This dude held the American collegiate record for the deadlift. He was like, okay, you know Charlie Weingroff? He was like a larger, more muscular Charlie Weingroff, like stout and just looked like he could, lift anything off the ground. And I was like, oh God. And his partner walked around at like 98 pounds, but for competition, she got down to like 89 pounds, right? So you have a dude who's holding a record in weightlifting and this chick that she doesn't weigh anything. I mean, it's like he's tossing around, it looks like he's tossing around a beach towel. It's like so easy for him. And so anyways, they open with that move that we had worked our butts off to nail. That was their opener. And all hell broke loose after that. And it was just standing there seeing somebody just run a clinic on your butt. Like, you know what I mean? Like everything that we thought we did, we were just trying to get to the point where we could just be near them. And they proceeded to do things like, instead of him just throwing her above his head, she did a backflip on the way up. And I just put my hand on my partner's shoulder going, dude, I'm sorry. It's over. Like, we're not making the podium. We're not like, our names will be wiped from the record. Like, this is so embarrassing. So anyways, going back to the gym. So there I am. I was coaching a lot of classes at the time. I was coaching, Friday mornings at 5:30 a.m. and most evenings at 5:30 p.m. And in between that, I was treating patients. And at some point, I got this strength coach. He's got a heck of a motor. And I'm like, you know what? I should give him the 5:30 a.m. classes. So my expectation was I'm going to give it to him. And I'm going to, getting ready to field a bunch of phone calls from angry customers. And they're going to talk to me about how it wasn't as good as mine. And he doesn't understand. He just doesn't know everything like I do. So he starts coaching the class. And we kind of team teach it for a week or something. And the next week, I'm like, all right, better check my, better check my voicemail and my emails for the customer complaints. And nothing happened. And then Thursday, I get an email from like our best client, right? And I'm going, oh God, this is it. He screwed up. And I open it up and it was, hey, I just want to let you know, I love the new coach. Class was great. Thanks a lot. I'm like, what the heck? And I think very quickly they learned to love him more than they love me, And it was just like standing on the stage, watching my coaching ability that I thought was so awesome, just dribble down. And at some point I realized, hey man, I got this great business that's making a lot of money and I'm not really having to do a lot for fulfillment. We would just do like team meetings every week and go over what are you seeing here and how does that affect people in the clinic and how does that affect people in the gym and what can we do upstream, downstream, sideways, whatever to help them perform better, whatever it was, right? And you realize quickly, I can't say it enough. Like a motivated trainer is probably the most underutilized skill set in the clinic world. And if you can get a hold of it, find somebody, if anybody out there is going, oh yeah, these stupid personal trainers and strength coaches are trying to steal my job. Dude, what they have is they have energy and they're only threatening you because they're hungry for more information. And if you're the person to supply it, they will fall in love with you. Mm-hmm. And when they fall in love with you, they can help you achieve your goals faster than you can achieve them on your own, And I just think they need some training. They need to know what red flags are and neuroscience. And we had a trainer who didn't know what a DVT was and, deep vein thrombosis. And he encouraged the person to foam roll. And luckily nothing happened. But as soon as I heard about that, I was like, oh God.
We need it in service immediately.
Yeah, exactly. But now whose fault was that? Mine. Why would he know what a DVT is? Right. He's never had that training. Right. And so that was a training failure on my part. And so we started training. What are red flags? What are the common ones? What should we look out for? And, we train them up on that and they're like hawks. And they would say like, no, you're not working out today. I remember our coach, the guy that took over the morning classes told the lady, you're not working out today. She's like, no, I'll be fine. He's like, no, I'm not going to sit here and have you injure yourself. I can't remember what it was. It was like a heart condition or something where he's like, no, you're not working out. Like, stop asking. And I was so proud in that moment that he knew, hey, I don't know what's wrong with her, but something's wrong with her. And I don't want it to, happen on our watch. And to his credit, she ended up getting going to her doctor and finding out she had, I think it was a heart issue or something, some sort of like murmur or something. But anyways, he knew it and stuck to his guns and he was right.
That's awesome. Sometimes I think it's the curse of being a practitioner, a service provider, thinking that our way is the best way, the only way. And I would imagine it's quite a learning process and quite a challenge to kind of let go of those reins, like that story. But I think so often if you put your trust and put in the time to educate, it just kind of pays off a ton. So give the listeners, give the clinicians and professionals out there a little idea of what Clinic Gym Hybrid Solutions is and what you're doing now, so we can kind of tell them where to go and where to find you and everything that you're doing in case they'd be interested in learning more about this.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Sure.
So what we do, we help clinicians add fitness to their practice faster and easier than they can do it on their own. Like, I've spent a lot of money on equipment and consulting and insurance and, all the vendors. And so all I'm trying to do is help them speed that up and then deal with you're going to hit some sticky points along the way of integrating it, setting your prices, what do you offer, and then kind of what's considered clinical services and what's considered gym services. And we just help them guide that pathway to help them get up and going in less than 6 months. Like, they should have a fully operational fitness offering within 6 months. And in that 6 months, they're going to have the recurring revenue. And what we try and get our people to is what we call the point of freedom, which is when your recurring membership income exceeds the total operating expenses for your entire business. I always say you can do whatever you want at that point. You can show up in your underwear because you're not worried about more business coming in the door, right? You got it all covered with just your recurring membership revenue. So we can't always hit that in 6 months, but we've never had a client we don't get up and going within 6 months. And fitness may not be, hey, I'm going to add a gym, but you're going to offer fitness classes within your current clinic. Maybe knock down a wall and have a before clinic and after clinic kind of service, but something will work to add fitness to your clinic and then offer that other business kind of income stream. And you really start seeing things explode then.
Awesome. And where's the best place for people to find you and kind of reach out and get in touch?
So are these people that don't have my 12 months of Dr. Josh wall calendar? 'Cause I have the website on that.
And I think I still have a bunch back ordered that haven't shown up yet.
I was wondering why I had 12 customer service emails from some guy in St. Louis. I guess that's you. Huh?
Yeah.
No. So the website is clinicgymhybrid.com, clinicgymhybrid.com. And they can go there, listen to me on Clinic Gym Radio, which is in the iTunes Store and Google Play. And actually, why don't we do this? If they go to clinicgymhybrid.com/18strong, we have this little 6-month plan that they can download of how to go about the steps, where I identify the big steps to take to add fitness to their clinic. And if that's useful for them, then they can just download that PDF and we'll get it to them.
Sweet.
Does that sound good?
Yeah, that'll be awesome. We'll definitely link all that stuff up in the show notes here.
Hey, speaking of, I just realized, I was watching some movies the other night and I saw that there's a movie called 12 Strong.
I know.
And but I noticed that's you're 50% better than that, right? You're 18 strong. They could only get up to 12 strong. So basically,
I think we need to work on your math skills a little bit.
Hey, man,
50% better than 12 is not 18.
Yeah, it is. 50% better than 12 would be 6 more, right?
All right. Yeah. Okay.
Right.
I was thinking you're double.
Well, here's the point I was trying to make is basically Pellizzaro could take, what's that dude who's Thor? Chris Helmsworth?
Yes.
You could take him to fight, right?
Easily.
You're 18 strong. He's only 12 strong. So I think your chances are good.
I love your confidence. All right, brother. We got to wrap up with a couple good questions here.
Yeah, man. Sorry. I get distracted.
No worries. I love it. All right. The audience is dying to know, does Dr. Josh Satterlee prefer Caddyshack or Happy Gilmore?
You got to go with Caddyshack. Because even though Gilmore's playing in a hockey jersey, the outfits in Caddyshack are way better. I had it playing the other day on mute. I was just looking at the stunning fashion statements made in that movie. It's unbelievable.
You're right. Rodney Dangerfield, he kills it in that movie.
Yeah. I mean, a plaid jacket as a, just don't see plaid jackets enough anymore.
No, they need to come back. That's for sure.
I don't know about that, but yeah, they might need to.
All right. What is your walk-up song to the first tee box?
Vehicle by the Ides of March. It's a huge horn section playing, and it's just, yeah. I mean, if you can walk up and tell that ball, hey, I'm your vehicle, baby. I'll take you anywhere you want to go. And how can you have a bad round after that? I just don't know.
It's not if you could play 18 holes of golf with anyone in the world, past or present, who is it and where would you play?
There's a lot of ways to go with that question, but I think I would get the most forgiving set of irons I could get and go play with my dad. Because my frustration with playing with my dad came from him trying to give me lessons. And when I look back on it, getting lessons with forged blades at the age of 11 is just the most idiotic thing. So we developed this aggression towards each other in the game of golf. I'd get some super forgiving cavity backs and go play. I would play Vandenberg Air Force Base, the officers course up there. So Vandenberg is just north of Santa Barbara. It's where like they shoot off the SpaceX rockets and stuff. It's right on the Pacific coast. It's super gorgeous. And for anybody listening, is the best public access golf course in all of California, dollar for dollar.
Wow.
Now it's a military base. There's not a drop of water on the course. It's hard as hell, and you're looking out at the ocean. So anybody who hasn't played that, do that. And then there's some of the best barbecue just north of there, up in Napomo, California, tiny town, amazing barbecue, and just I'd make a weekend of that.
Ooh, I love all the secrets here. This is awesome. All right, my friend. Any last piece of advice from the 18 Strong community?
Man, Jeff, seriously, I think you're doing everybody such a service here, because I think that the word needs to get out about, the effect of strength in the world of golf. You're helping the golfers get better. You're helping connect clinicians and coaches and trainers and instructors. And I think that, the exciting thing we're entering in medicine, from my perspective, is this phase where you're going to have to work harder and harder to get people better and better, because we're literally at a point where we can help them live long enough so they can live forever. And I think that that's the phase we're entering. So there's going to be people playing golf into their 90s and 100s, and we just got to keep them strong enough to do that. So I think we got a big mission ahead of us.
I think we do as well. Dr. Satterlee, I can't thank you enough for coming on, man. Honestly, I remember listening to the Dr. Josh show thinking, what is this whole podcast thing even all about? So you and Anthony Renna, one of the first podcasts I ever came across in this whole world, and strength and conditioning and golf. And so you definitely inspired what's going on here at the 18 Strong podcast. And I mean, it's just been great to get to know you over the years, since TPI Level 2, and then at the World Golf Fitness Summit when you saved me with the computer and the microphone setup. That's another inside story that we have amongst us. But thanks for taking the time, man, and we will definitely push out the word on Clinic Gym Hybrid Solutions. Hopefully there's a lot of clinicians that are looking to implement this into their practice, because I think it's the direction that most gyms and practitioners really should be thinking of going, because it's making such a difference. So keep up the good work, man. I
appreciate the kind words, Jeff, and good luck with everything you're doing, man. I hope to see you in Orlando, right? World Golf Fitness Summit 18? 18,
October of 18. You got it.
There you go. They even named the year after your podcast, brother, so good work.
I know, the whole year. It's awesome. Thanks, man.
All right, man. Thank you.
All right, I hope you enjoyed that interview with Dr. Josh. If you want any more information on him or his contact info, just go to 18strong.com, look up episode number 192, or just search for Josh in the search bar, and you will find all the information there, all the notes from today's show, and any links to his social media as well as his contact info. Don't forget, if you are looking for a plan, something to get you started right and get you off of this roller coaster of ups and downs in your golf game, and really start to get you on track in order to reach your full potential and reach your goals, I want you to go to 18strong.com/rollercoaster, and you're going to get our free video series called Get Off the Golf Fitness Roller Coaster. 4 videos that are going to walk you through our process and give you a real game plan to get where you want to go. Again, 18strong.com/rollercoaster. All right, we will catch up with you again next week with another great guest. Train hard, practice smart, and play better golf.
Thanks for listening to the 18 Strong podcast at www.18strong.com. And remember, train hard, practice smart, and play better golf.